All right, let's dive into something pretty interesting today. Um, Getting you ready for a level crossing single person interview. It's one of those jobs that you kind of need a bit of everything,
Right.
safety smarts, technical skills, knowing how to work with people. Because at the end of the day, you're the one making sure everything runs smoothly and safely at a railway crossing.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So to make sure you're totally prepared, we're going to take a deep dive into RoleCatcher's career and interview guides, the ones they've got on their site. We'll uncover some of the pros and cons, some of them might surprise you, get a feel for what it's actually like to do the job, and we'll even see how RoleCatcher's AI can help you get ready for that interview. And to help us connect all the dots, I've got, well, an expert who lives and breathes this stuff.
Happy to be here.
All right, so where do we even begin with a job like this?
Well, why don't we start with the basics?
Yeah, good idea. The What They Do section in the career guide actually paints a pretty exciting picture. You've got trains coming in, cars lined up, people waiting, maybe getting a little impatient, and you're the one making sure everyone's safe.
Exactly. I like to think of it as, like being a conductor for an orchestra, but instead of instruments, you're orchestrating traffic and people.
Makes sense.
And while operating the equipment is a big part of it, the guide really emphasizes how important it is to be a clear communicator.
Oh, for sure.
Mhm.
Because you're dealing with so many different people, right? Like you've got the traffic controllers, you've got the drivers, other signal people, even just everyday folks walking by.
It's a whole symphony of communication. And, with technology always changing, especially in transportation, you always got to be learning and keeping up to date.
That's a good point. And the guide doesn't try to make things sound easier than they are. The work environment section makes it pretty clear you're going to be outdoors, rain or shine, dealing with noise, dust, sometimes even fumes. It's a demanding job, no doubt, but it's also a job that has a huge impact on keeping people safe. So before we jump into the whole interview prep thing, how does all this sound so far?
I think you're right. It's definitely not your typical 9 to 5 office job. But for those who like being hands on and thrive in a dynamic environment, it can be a really rewarding job. And like the guide says, the transport industry is only growing, so you've got that job security to think about, which is a big plus.
Yeah, and speaking of pluses, let's look at those pros and cons they list out.
Mhm.
I was actually a bit surprised by some of the things they mentioned.
What caught your eye?
Well, job stability and a decent salary, those are always great. But then you see things like potential exposure to hazardous materials and, high stress levels. So definitely something to consider.
Yeah, I think it comes down to weighing those things and figuring out what's important to you. What are you comfortable with? And don't forget, there's also room to specialize in this field. The specialism section, it highlights how focusing on specific areas like different signaling systems or safety tech can open up more opportunities.
That's great advice. Okay, so we have a decent understanding of what the job's all about. But let's get to the real reason we're here, which is acing that interview.
The moment of truth.
Exactly. So we're going to look at some of the top questions from RoleCatcher's interview guide. These are questions designed to really test your knowledge, your experience, and see if you're the right fit.
It's all about finding the right match, both for the candidate and the employer.
Exactly. So with your help, we'll figure out the best way to answer each one.
Sounds good. Let's tackle these questions head on.
Okay, question number one, and it's a classic. What inspired you to pursue a career as a level crossing signal person? It seems simple enough, but the guide makes a good point. You got to showcase genuine interest and passion. It's not just about saying, oh, it seemed like a decent job.
Yeah, you really want to connect your answer back to like your personal values. Why are you drawn to this field? Is it the safety aspect, the technology, the fast-paced environment?
So it's more about the why behind the choice.
Exactly. Let that passion shine through.
Okay, the guide gives a simple answer. They say something like, I've always been fascinated by the transportation industry and how it impacts people's lives. Making sure people and goods move safely and efficiently is something I find really meaningful. And being a level crossing signal person, it lets me contribute to that directly. But obviously you'll want to personalize it, make it your own. What kind of follow-up questions do you think they might ask after something like that?
Well, they might want to dig deeper into, your experience with the transportation industry. They could ask, what parts of the industry interest you the most? Or can you tell me about a time you saw how important transportation safety is firsthand? So be ready to elaborate, give specific examples.
So it's not just about having a good answer, it's about being able to back it up.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move on to question number two. This one's all about experience. What experience do you have in operating and maintaining safety equipment? This is where you can show off your technical skills.
Definitely. Don't be afraid to get into the nitty-gritty. Talk about the types of equipment you've worked with, like gates, signals, any warning systems, and don't just say you operated them. Explain how you made sure everything was working properly. And any training you've had, any certifications, those are gold.
This is actually where RoleCatcher's AI comes in handy. Their platform, it looks at job descriptions and suggests skills you should highlight, so you can make sure you're talking about the experience that really matters for this specific job.
That's a smart way to use technology. And it's also important to adjust your answer depending on your career level. Someone just starting out might focus more on assisting with maintenance, while someone with years of experience can talk about troubleshooting more complex stuff. And the career stages section in the guide, that can help you figure out where you fit in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Moving on to question number 3. This one's all about safety. How do you prioritize safety in your work? And it's not enough to just say safety is important. You got to show them you really believe in a safety-first mindset.
Absolutely. Talk about situations where you put safety procedures into action. Maybe you created a new checklist or you spotted a potential hazard before anything happened. Show them you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk when it comes to safety.
I love that. Don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. That should be on a poster. It's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it too, right? Like your body language can tell a whole story on its own. Sitting up straight, making eye contact, being enthusiastic when you talk about safety, it all adds up.
For sure. You want to project confidence and competence. And if you're feeling nervous, RoleCatcher's interview practice feature can be really helpful. You can record yourself answering questions and get AI feedback on your delivery, your content, even your body language. It's like having a coach right there with you.
That's pretty cool, like having a secret weapon to perfect how you present yourself. Okay, question number 4. How do you handle stressful situations at work? We all know this job can get pretty stressful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They want to know you can keep a cool head, stay focused, and make smart decisions under pressure. A good way to answer this one is to share a specific example of a time you faced a stressful situation at work and how you handled it. Focus on how you solved the problem and prioritize tasks.
Because when you've got trains moving and people waiting, you can't afford to panic.
Exactly. You got to be quick on your feet.
And be ready for follow-up questions. They might ask, have you ever had to make a split-second decision that affected safety? Or, how do you manage when you have conflicting priorities and everything's happening at once? Show them you can handle the pressure.
It's all about showing you can think critically and act decisively when things get tough.
Okay, we're halfway through our top questions. How are we feeling so far?
I think we're making good progress.
And remember, if you want even more info, you can find the full guides on RoleCatcher's website. All right, let's tackle question 5. How do you ensure you stay up to date with the latest safety regulations and protocols? This one's all about showing you're committed to always learning new things.
It's all about being proactive. Don't just mention the training programs or certifications you have. Tell them how you actively look for information and stay on top of what's happening in the industry. What organizations are you part of? What publications do you read? What online resources do you use?
This is where the elevating your career section of the guide comes in, right? It talks about getting hands-on experience, pursuing more training, and networking with people in the field.
Exactly. Even if you're just starting out, helping more experienced signal persons can give you so much insight, and it shows them you're eager to learn. Creating a portfolio to showcase your experience can really make you stand out too.
Those are great tips. Okay, let's move on to question number 6. How do you work with other team members to ensure safety at level crossings? This one's all about teamwork and communication, right? You're not working in isolation, you're part of a whole system.
That's spot on. You need to be able to work well with your colleagues, traffic controllers, everyone involved. Highlight your communication skills, how well you follow instructions, and any experience you have working as part of a team.
The guide gives an example answer where they focus on communicating clearly and making sure everyone understands the safety procedures.
Yeah, a shared understanding is key.
But they might go deeper with questions like, tell me about a time you had to work with multiple people to fix a safety issue, or how do you handle disagreements about safety protocols?
Yeah.
Be ready to show that you can collaborate and resolve conflicts in a positive way.
Because, let's face it, conflict is going to happen, especially in a job where safety is so important. Show them you can handle those challenges professionally and that you're focused on finding solutions.
And this is another area where RoleCatcher's AI can really help. Their application answer analysis feature can give you feedback on what you write, suggest ways to improve it, and basically help you fine-tune your answers. Okay, question number 7. How do you handle conflicts with other team members or stakeholders? This kind of builds on what we were just talking about.
You got it. They want to see that you can deal with conflict maturely and productively. Focus on how you communicate and how you solve problems. Think about a specific conflict you faced. How did you approach it? What steps did you take to resolve it? Show them you can listen to different perspectives and come up with solutions everyone can agree on.
And don't be shy about mentioning that you're willing to ask your supervisor for guidance if you need it. It shows you're not afraid to seek help and that you're really committed to doing what's best for everyone. Okay, moving on to question 8. How do you prioritize your workload and manage your time effectively? Okay, time management is a big deal in any job, but even more so in a role where every second counts.
This is your chance to really highlight your organizational skills. Tell them how you manage your workload, whether you use to-do lists, prioritize tasks based on urgency, or break down big projects into smaller steps. Show them you've got a system and you can handle multiple things at once.
And don't forget about those example profiles in the career guide. They show you how real people present themselves at different points in their careers. So even if you're early in your career, you can still showcase those time management skills by talking about how you juggled responsibilities in your previous roles, even if they weren't directly related to transportation.
Yeah, any experience where you had to manage your time and prioritize can be relevant. The trick is to connect it back to the specific demands of this role.
Okay, we're almost there. Question number 9. How do you ensure you are providing excellent customer service to drivers and pedestrians at level crossings? Remember, while safety is a top priority, you're also interacting with people.
Right. This one's all about those people skills. You want to come across as approachable, helpful, and professional. Think of some times you've provided useful information, addressed concerns, or solved problems in your previous roles. And talk about how you communicate, your patience, and your ability to stay calm and helpful even when people are frustrated.
And even things like making eye contact, using a friendly tone of voice, having a positive attitude, those all matter too.
You bet. Even if you're dealing with impatient drivers or people who are a little lost, it's so important to stay calm and treat everyone with respect.
Okay, and finally, question number 10. What steps do you take to ensure you are following all safety protocols and regulations at level crossings? Here's your chance to really drive home that commitment to safety.
Go beyond just listing the protocols. Explain how you make those protocols a part of everything you do. Maybe you have your own personal checks and balances to make sure you don't miss anything, or talk about how you actively contribute to a culture of safety at work.
And if you've taken any extra safety courses on top of the required ones, definitely mention those. It shows you're going the extra mile and are really dedicated to maintaining the highest safety standards.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to mention that you're willing to keep learning and adapt as new regulations and technologies come up. Show them that you're committed to staying at the forefront of safety practices.
Wow, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We've gone through the key responsibilities, the work environment, the pros and cons of the role, and tackled those top 10 interview questions. Before we move on, how are we feeling?
It's definitely a lot to process, but with good preparation and the right resources, anyone can ace this interview.
Absolutely. And that's where RoleCatcher comes in.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about how their AI can help you tailor your answers and practice for specific roles, but they offer so much more than that.
It's an incredible resource no matter what career you're interested in.
So true. Why don't we take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into some final tips and strategies for really knocking that interview out of the park.
It really is amazing how tech can help you get ready and feel more confident.
Totally. And we've covered so much today, like what the job actually involves, the kind of environment you'd be working in, and of course, those top 10 interview questions that can really make a difference.
Yeah, it's all about showcasing those essential skills. Clear communication, problem solving, working well with others, and that commitment to continuous learning. Not just about the job itself, but about yourself, how you present yourself.
And RoleCatcher's example profiles are really helpful for that. They give you a sneak peek into how people who are already successful in this role present themselves at different stages in their careers.
They're like a roadmap.
Exactly. So whether you're just starting out or you're aiming for a leadership role, those profiles can help you figure out the best way to approach things.
Definitely. And remember those AI-powered features we talked about? Those can really help you fine-tune your interview skills.
Oh yeah, those are game changers for sure. Speaking of which, there's one feature I want to highlight. It's RoleCatcher's video rehearsal analysis. It's like having a personal stylist for your interview, but instead of clothes, they're helping you perfect your presentation style.
Makes sense, especially for a job where you're interacting with so many people. Seeing yourself answer questions on camera, it can be really eye-opening.
It really can. And RoleCatcher's AI doesn't just record you. It actually analyzes things like your body language, your tone of voice, how fast you're talking. It can even pick up on those little things you might not even notice that could be sending the wrong message.
It's true. We don't always see ourselves the way others see us. So having that objective feedback can be super helpful.
It can help you catch those nervous habits you might have, like fidgeting or not making eye contact.
And you can work on projecting more confidence.
Exactly. It's like having a secret weapon for nailing that first impression. So if you're even a little bit nervous, try out RoleCatcher's video rehearsal analysis. It can really make a difference.
No doubt about it. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel going into that interview.
All right, so we've armed you with the knowledge and some strategies to tackle those interview questions. Before we wrap up, any last words of wisdom to inspire our listeners as they start this exciting career path?
You got this. Remember, you're not just applying for a job. You could be starting a really rewarding career in an industry that's vital.
Hmm.
Let your passion show. Emphasize how much you care about safety, and don't forget to highlight those key skills we discussed.
That's great advice. And don't forget, those RoleCatcher guides are always there for you, packed with all sorts of useful information.
They're a gold mine.
Okay, listener, we're sending all the good vibes your way for your upcoming interview. We know you're going to do great.
Best of luck.
Now, before we let you go, we always like to leave you with something to think about.
All right, I'm all ears.
Here it is. What part of being a Level Crossing Signal person really gets you excited? And how are you going to show that passion in your interview?
Ooh, that's a good one. It really gets to the heart of what motivates you.
Exactly. Take some time to reflect on that. What makes this role special to you? What makes it fulfilling? And let that passion fuel your preparation. Let it shine through when you talk to the interviewer.
When you're genuinely excited, it shows.
And in the meantime, if you're curious about other career paths or want to learn more about transportation safety, check out RoleCatcher's website. They have a ton of resources to help you along the way. Until next time, happy prepping
Keep learning.
and best of luck with your career goals.
When you find that thing, that spark, that part of the job that really speaks to you, that's what's going to make you stand out.
Yeah, it's like you're sharing a bit of yourself.
Yeah.
Your excitement for the work. And even if you're not specifically looking to be a level crossing signal person right now, a lot of what we talked about today, it applies to other jobs too.
Absolutely. That focus on safety, being a clear communicator, working well in a team, those are things any employer would want.
And the way we talked about approaching those interview questions, showing your passion, highlighting the right experiences, and proving you have the skills that works for any interview, really.
Preparation and knowing yourself are key. And tools like RoleCatcher, they can really take your prep to the next level, using AI to tailor your approach and fine-tune those answers.
I think we've given our listener a lot to think about, and hopefully they're feeling a bit more confident about their interview.
I hope so too. It's a tough field, but it's a rewarding one. With the right attitude and good preparation, anyone can do well.
So, to our listener, as you continue your job search, remember the key things we talked about today. Do your research, prepare, and don't be afraid to show off your skills and your passions. And if you haven't already, go check out RoleCatcher. See how their AI tools can help you on your career journey.
It's a game changer, for sure.
All right, that wraps up our deep dive into getting ready for that Level Crossing Signalperson interview. We hope you found it useful. Until next time, keep learning, and good luck with your career goals.